let's start the first non-technical session of this conference, I think so. Maybe, okay, the keynote was not so technical. So, welcome Novi Sad, welcome Serbia, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you Dusan for the invitation, thank you my colleagues from Codecentric. And yeah, we have today a session about Agile culture capability model. And the name is, I think, great, yeah? What do you think? It's quite complicated, I think, as you have no idea what does it mean. But I think after 45 minutes you will get a better understanding what we are talking about, what we were talking about. But first of all, I have some questions because we will talk about agility, we will talk about culture. Who of you is a foreigner here, not from Serbia? Okay, some guys, okay. Who of you really work in Agile project, using Agile methodologies like Scrum and so on? Okay, that's much more. Okay, great. And the last question is, who of you work also with foreign companies, or for foreign companies from Germany, from Europe? Okay, lots of. Okay, that's great. So we will have some common interface. So let's start with this. I have to check if the technical stuff works. It seems to be okay. Let's start with a small map. As you can see, two countries, mainly two countries, I would say, Germany and Poland. I'm from Poland, but I work since 2001 for Codecentric, for Codecentric, for German companies. And I was 30 and I had decided to emigrate from Poland. I was born here, that's Stettin, that's a town directly on the border. And I thought, okay, I will go abroad, maybe earn a lot more money as I was able to do it in Poland. And my expectation was, yeah, we are neighbors, so that should be everything okay. I'm not emigrate to really Asia or something like this. And my first experience was this. My boss said suddenly to me on the first day of my work, "Hello, Mr. Boczek." And I thought, what a check. Why? Because in Poland, if you use a last name as a call name, it's some kind of an insult. It simply doesn't. You cannot do this. It's very unplaced. So that was really the first surprise to me. Wow, yeah, that's the first contact. And hello, Mr. Boczek. What does it mean? Yeah? Why Mr. Boczek? The second topic, for example, here was my colleague. I have heard information that my colleague will have a birthday on Sunday. So I decided to go to him on Friday before Sunday to wish him all the best. Because, yeah, that's what we do in Poland. Yeah, we try to get the information. I haven't forgotten you. I know you will have birthday. And he was very surprised because it's an untypical or unknown behavior in Germany. In Germany, you have to do it if you are not able to do it on that day. At that day, you have to do it afterward. One more example about surprises. I have invited very good couple to me to my flat, to my home, and it's a really common behavior in Poland that if you get such invitation, you have to have a present. Maybe flowers for the lady, maybe a bottle of vodka for the host, but just simply going there and having nothing, it's completely uncommon in Poland, but not in Germany. So that were lots of differences I have encountered at the beginning of my work in Germany, and I was surprised and surprised and surprised. Wow, only 20 kilometers abroad, and just such differences, such cultural differences. And that is what we will be talking about. But let's start with a few words about my presence. Actually, I would like to say native Agile. That's my Twitter account. But just to let you know, I'm not Agile project manager or something like this. Actually, I work as an architect and I do technical stuff. But I was lucky and I did many projects for many companies, so I was able to really collect a lot of experience. So my private motivation was clear for this topic: culture, agility. Simply, okay, I was an immigrant, so I was confronted, or I am confronted every day with such differences. What is allowed in Germany, what is not allowed in Poland, or not allowed in Germany compared to Poland. I did, for example, a very beautiful project in Japan. I was on-site coordinator for 6 months in Tokyo, and I was lead of 2 Japanese teams with Chinese and India guys and so on. So I was able also to see what does it mean Agile and doing projects with Asia guys. I did also a project with Romanian guys. So I was lead of a project for a big telecommunication company in Germany for 8 months. I was X times in Bucharest, and I was able to see, what does it mean, agility also for the Romanian guys. And privately, I live in Germany. My wife is a Brazilian girl. I'm from Poland. We use German language at home, so it's a really kind of a mix which helps to understand that we have to think about culture, about culture aspects. Yeah, but what was exactly the problem which causes the creation of Agile culture capability model? If we talk about agility, you know, there are lots of definitions, but actually we are talking about this ability to respond to change, to respond to feedback. Yes, we are like playing soccer. Yeah? So we decide to go to left or right. Yeah? We have to think about communication, effective communication, if we would like to be agile. We have to involve stakeholders and all guys involved in project into this collaboration in all the projects. So we do it all together. And we have to also be able to delegate jobs, just to take over. We delegate responsibility. We have to change the way we are thinking. So actually, Agile is not so complicated to understand what does it mean. But you have probably encountered that it's simply very difficult to master. Yeah? And if we are talking about agility in this context, we have next step of complexity with this. If we are talking about agility in the environment of a big organization. I did projects for a Shell company, oil company. I did projects for big German banks. And I'm at the moment in a position of a lead architect in one of the biggest insurance companies in Germany. And big organizations have this specific problem that we very seldom are able to talk about one small team. We have more teams. We have teams of guys that are responsible for business requirements. We have guys that are responsible even for testing, for developing. We have architecture groups and so on. Additionally, it's quite often, you know this, many of these organizations have now nearshore and offshore teams. So we have different locations, we have different languages, and so on. And many of these big organizations have seen already, oh, agility, maybe that's the cure for all our problems, with schedules, with money, and so with budget, and so on. And they did some projects that was a wave about 2007, 2008. They have invested money, made some projects, and these projects were mostly catastrophic. They were not able to deliver the value they have defined and at high cost. So my question was, and I took part in such projects. I have seen also such projects with these problems. Okay, let's start agility, big organization, and we had a lot of problems with coordination, teams, and so on. So my question was, actually these problems are quite obvious. What was the reason? And I have decided simply to think about this in a little bit, I would say 10,000 feet high, just to be able to understand the whole system, like lean principles, think about the whole. And we can talk in this context about culture. What is culture? Culture is our language, art, sciences, thoughts, our social activity, our interaction. That's culture. Culture, that's very important for this talk. Culture is actually a universal orientation system. Yeah, we will talk, you will see in a moment what does it mean. But please keep this in mind, universal orientation system. Culture influences the way we perceive, we think, we act, our values. And what's also very important, culture is not static, it's dynamic. Yeah? We have ongoing change. Yeah, so if we understand what culture is, then we have to think about culture in a special context. We have culture, we have person, and we have situation. Situation is we have to behave. That means all these components actually influence the way we behave. Yeah, what should I do? Should I say hello? Should I say Mr. Boczek? Should I say hello, Mr. Adam? And so on. That was also my problem, for example, in Germany, in Poland, you always have to shake the hand if the counterpart is a man. In Germany, you don't know. Sometimes you stay there and you see the German guy, and that's the problem because it's not so common. It's not normal always to do this. So we have such situations, and our culture says do this, we are the person, and that's the influence of the behavior. And I have analyzed this, and I can say, that's my definition, that we should think about agility as a culture. Agility is not a methodology, agility is not a framework, it's not Scrum, it's not Kanban. Agility is a culture. Wow. Okay. Are you there? Okay. So, you probably also, if you work with other countries or if you read some books about working in nearshore, offshore context, there are cultures where, for example, hierarchies are very important. You are not able to do anything, to make a decision without asking your boss. Yeah. There are also cultures where, for example, very problematic is to leave your role. If you are a manager, you are not allowed to do something else because it's not your role. You belong to a certain group. There are countries, like Germany, where the topic with the name emotionality is actual, doesn't exist, I would say. Yeah, I know it's a little bit hard, but simply, for example, we in Poland, it's for us, it's a way of expressing emotions. The way that doing this simply it helps also to communicate. Yeah, you can just say, okay, that's what I think. There are cultures where this type of behavior is even wrong, like Germany. We have also cultures where, for example, you are not able to communicate directly, or directly yes, but in this direct way, just to say, okay, sorry, that's an error. 2 plus 2, it's not 5. Yeah, so. There are countries where you can say directly, sorry, boss, you have made a mistake, sorry, my colleague, you have made an error, 2 plus 2 is 4. There are countries where you have to be really, you have to be aware, you have to find a way to sell it, this information. Because you can, if you say it directly, you will hurt your opponent in this way. So it's really important to understand there are such aspects of a culture. And these aspects actually exist under the name culture standards. And if we look at the definition exactly, if we know that culture is an orientation system, a specific orientation system, then we can say that this system comprised of individual cultural elements, okay, then these culture elements help us to simplify these complexities of a culture and give us these behavioral guidelines. That means these culture standards simply define what should we do in this moment. Yeah? If we get present, we say thank you. Or if we meet another person, we have to shake the hand. And so on. In Japan, shaking hands, okay, might be dangerous. Yeah. So that's a guideline. That's some kind of a guide. You know? And but what is very important, these culture standards, they cause us that the behavior of our partner is, and the behavior of us and what is around us is simply predictable. We can really, we can assume, okay, if I gave him this, I will get this, and so on. So we can predict what will come. And these elements, as I said before, the right name for this are culture standards, and they are, they characterize a culture. Is it clear? Any questions? No.
Which country had the situation 2 plus 2 equals 5?
Which, sorry?
Sorry, the last example with the table board, where do you need to wrap it around to correct your colleague?
Romania. Yeah. So we have talked about culture. We have talked about culture standards, and let's put everything together to get better understanding of what we are talking about and what is the base, the foundation of the Agile culture capability model that I have created. We have our culture standards. Yeah. So this small definitions how to behave. These standards iterate That means we cannot just simply say, okay, we are talking about how to do, how to behave in case of hierarchies and so on. We have to also talk and think about other components. So we have interaction. So if we have, for example, team 1 that sits in Germany, then we have some small culture Germany system. And if we talk about agility, agile as a culture, then we have another system. Yeah, with all these aspects like culture standards, that's the definition. And then they interact and create in this way a culture system. It's quite common, you know this. Yeah, we in Serbia, if you do agile programming, then you might have seen these problems with agility. What does it mean to deliver feedback or to be honest and so on? And what do we have in case of nearshore and offshore? We have most probably, or maybe other organizations, as I said, we are talking here in my talk about nation, but this unit can be also a team in two organizations, two companies, for example. Then we have a culture as a third culture, and we have something like culture, system of systems. That's maybe, I would say, overdriven, but my aim was to show you how complex is the whole story. So, if we talk about, 15 hours, that's good, because we can talk about it the whole day. Tons of questions arise, because actually that was my problem. I had recognized this. I'm from Poland and so on. My Japanese team, even if we have invested some time in the coaching and so on, we were not able to do some elements of agility or to achieve because of this unknown culture problems. That was my stomach feeling. So I had this question: is it possible to do it? What are really challenges? How to focus on what is important? How to decide? Is it only the problem of language? Is it the problem of location? Is it the problem of technical stuff? And so on. And what are actually the culture standards that have influence on my Agile project? Because not all of them have influence on agility. What are actually the soft skills all team members should have to be able to do such projects with nearshore or offshore? So that were my main questions. And after a while, I have decided to start to analyze this. And I have defined actual dimensions to be able to better understand, to create a model. If we talk about model simplifies and makes complex things simple, so you can try to find a solution to your problem. That's what is the reason we are creating models. So I have first read a lot of books about agility, about project management, but also it's written in German, but also books about not technical stuff, but books with the title Doing Business with Germans, about psychology and so on, just to get better understanding what we are talking about, what are the problems, what are these culture standards. And I have created a list, I have extracted these standards that, in my opinion, are important for the agile projects, especially in context of doing this with many teams, many locations, many nations, and so on. So first one, hierarchy orientation. We don't have enough time to talk about this every point, but you will see there's a long list. but you will find this, I hope, it's quite obvious what is the reason for this. We have to talk about conflict prevention. We have to talk about emotionality, individualism, objectivism, plan orientation, pragmatism, such things like rules and regulation orientation, self-confidence, and the problems with the self-confidence like volatility, sorry, it's difficult. And we have to talk about status orientation. Yeah? These are, in my opinion, culture standards that have influence on the agility, on the execution of the Agile projects. They have influence in positive and negative way. And that was one dimension. The second dimension was, for me, the question, okay, I know what are cultural standards that have influence on the agility. The second question is, what should I expect? What do I need from the members? What do I need from the members? What should they have as a soft skill set to support Agile projects? And yeah, first point, communication, very important. Conflict management, dealing with change flexibility. We know this reaction to the feedback and so on. Decision making. Yeah, we delegate responsibility. The team members should be able to make decisions. Well, that was too fast, but goal-oriented, yeah, value-driven. We say always, we Agile guys, we deliver value, business value. Yeah? We do not talk about documentation, we deliver product, we deliver running software, we deliver value. Leadership is also important because we have role-less teams, and we have to be aware what does it mean if we have team lead, if we have management, teamwork, clear, problem solving, very important. Yeah? Once again, the topic of the delegation of responsibility, time management and planning. So that was the second dimension. Yeah, we have one our cultural standards. The second are our soft skills. And if we then have these three dimensions, then we can create such a slide or try to understand it. Simply, we should start from the culture standards and look at the influence of these culture standards on the Agile soft skills that we need, and then we can, having this information, having this meta information, some kind of a model, we can try to judge what is the strength of occurrence, I call it, of this the culture standard and soft skill. What is the strength of occurrence in case of an individual person, or maybe nation, or maybe team? So that is the base point. That are the dimensions of the Agile culture capability model. And it's important to understand it's a meta model. That means you will see this, you will have to feel it with your numbers, with your values. You will see what's the reason for this, that I'm saying it's a meta model. Yeah, quite simple. So, if we talk about Agile culture capability, we talk about project execution ability of a unit. And as I said, you will see this unit can be an individual, team, department, organization, nation, using Agile values and principles. Now we have talked about it, but we can specify this in more detail. Agile manifesto and so on. And very important, it's an empirical value and it's a relative value. And I have decided, and that's, I would say, that was very challenging, to quantify things that are very fuzzy. We are talking about culture, standards, soft skills, how to quantify this. But as I said, I'm a technical guy, I'm an IT guy. My idea was simply to create some kind of a basement just to get better understand what are the risks of my project. Where should I invest money? What should I do in case of a potential problem? And very important, please do not use this idea to promote stereotypes. We are all humans, and as I said, actually, at the end, you should try to see a person behind this, because it's not an Excel sheet or something like this. It's a number, but behind this number we have team, we have people, we have humans. So that's the solution. Wow. So we can go home now. It's not so complicated, but maybe for the persons that don't like maths, but we are all IT guys, so we have to use mathematics. I know, but that's I need this just to make this. You will remember this probably all information. But if we talk about Agile culture capability, then it consists actually of the elements that we have talked about already. That's this influence of a culture standard on an Agile soft skill. So if we have our hierarchies, we look at, for example, the influence of a hierarchical system on the communication ability of a person, of a unit, of a team or nation. Yeah? So you can imagine, for example, that the communication in Japan, that is stomach filling, in Japan is not so easy compared to Europe, because of this hierarchies that they have. In India also. But in Europe, in Germany, communication, we do not have big hierarchies, the communication is much easier. Then we have this importance of an Agile soft skill from an Agile culture capability. That means you have seen this list of soft skills, but not all of them have the same weight. Some of them are more important, some of them are less important for agility topic. Yeah? You will see an example. And then we have simply, we will multiply the whole value by the strength of occurrence of this culture standard in a unit. That means we can simply say, oh, in Germany, hierarchies, maybe 1 point. In Japan, hierarchies, 5 points. Yeah, so that just to get this final number. And we can then create such a matrix, and it seems quite complicated, but you will see that is simply just to have this on one slide. We start with this importance for the Agile culture capability. That means we say which of the soft skill we define these weights. And very important, what I will show you now, that are my weights. So if you decide to use this meta model, you should think and define your weights. Yeah, because it might, your point of view might be other comparing to this what I'm thinking about. But you can use it as a starting point. Yeah? So, in my opinion, if we take our soft skills, I have decided to use such a scale. That means a soft skill that is is very important, normal important, and not so important. Yeah? But it was important not to use maybe this low, less, and so on important, because actually all of them are important, but that was this influence. Yeah? That means importance, that is the message here. So I have decided, okay, communication 3, conflict management not so important, changing flexibility 3, and so on. That are my weights. So if I have this here, then I can go and define the influence of a culture standards on these agile soft skills. That means what I said, yeah, what does it mean if we have a hierarchical system, and what does it mean such a system, what is the influence on the communication? And then, that is an example, yeah, communication, I have decided to use such scale, yeah, strong negative influence, neutral, -1 and so on, strong positive. And as you can see, we have here authority, hierarchy orientation, communication -2, strong negative, conflict management -2, and so on, and so on, and so on. And all of these culture standards that I have classified as important for the Agile culture. Yeah, and you can see even that's the diagram. Some of them have negative influence, some of them have positive influence. But as I said, that's by Boczek. So you can decide, because that's not my first talk about this model, and I had discussions about, oh, what is the reason that you have to, decided to put here -2 and not -1? Okay. What we are talking about are these tendencies here. That means strong negative, we have also positive culture standards with a positive influence on the soft skills. So that was the second step, and then if we have this matrix, we can talk about the strength of the occurrence of such a pair in a unit. As I said, this unit here, that was my decision based on my experience on my project to do it for the countries I know. I've been personally, I lived there. Yeah, but as I said, yeah, we should be aware of this stereotypes. And I will always support the idea not to talk about the ability of a nation to be agile. We should have to talk about the ability of a certain team, certain environment to be agile. So in my actual project, we do this in a, as I said, insurance company. And their culture is not agile. So I have now two cultures. Our culture, because we do a project for them, but they deliver information for us, so we have to strongly communicate. We have an agile project, and so we have this system of the culture of this insurance company, and we have our company concentric culture, and we have agility. So I have decided that are my points. You know, this Germany, 1 point. They're all in 3. It's better. But in this context, it's not better. To get better understanding, this scale, yeah, strength of occurrence, lowest, low, normal, high, highest, just to have a scale. You can also define this. I have used numbers, you can use other units, and as you can see, authority hierarchy as an example. Yeah, Germany, low hierarchies, Poland in the middle, India hierarchy is very important, Japan also. I was surprised. Hierarchies are also very important, for example, in women. Status orientation, you know this also. Yeah? That's a very famous example we have in Agile frameworks. We define so-called role-less teams. For a guy from India, it's tragic because he or she needs this title. So if you read, I can suggest to read, for example, a book from Craig Lehman. He has okay, I have forgotten the name. But there's about scaling Scrum, and he had Lama, that's the right name, and he had such problems with the Indian guys because even of the role-less teams, they wanted to have titles. Yeah? I'm the manager of this, I'm the manager of this, and so on, because of this hierarchy and the status orientation. So that are my numbers, and as you can see, now we can talk about this formula, because at the end we can simply get numbers. And that's great, because numbers you can compare. Numbers are transparent, you cannot change this. And even if you try to move one of the value or away, you will see that that will stay stable. Yeah? So, as you can see, Germany 66 point and so on, that is my judgment. But as I said, these are values that are only, you cannot use it as an indicator or as a stereotype. It's simply, you can compare where do you have to be aware of the potential problems. And that was my result, and that has confirmed what I have seen. That, for example, the normal coaching that we have for European guys about agility and how to be agile, we did it 3 weeks in Japan, and they were not able to do it. And in other countries, it was not a problem. Why? Because we have probably forgotten some other aspects, some other cultural standards that have influence on this in Japan, but not in Europe. Yeah? And as I said, it's not about only a nation, it's about also such units like teams, organizations, and so on. You know? So please understand this as only some kind of a road sign. What are the potential risks? And if you have such, if you fill this meta model with your numbers, you will see, you can go to the management loss numbers. And you can simply prove, look at this. We have to invest in this, and this, and this. And that's obvious. Yeah? Do you see the number? This is bigger as this, and so on. It works. Yeah. So, the last slide. Yeah, as I said, this model tries to quantify this information about agile capability, that you can get the information and that you get some values that you can compare of a working unit. We are talking about project risks, so it's not the aim to judge that you are not so able, you are not so capable, and so on. No, we are talking about risk, how to achieve the goal. Yeah? You have heard today, the keynote, how to behave and such. We look for the solution, we have to know about the problem. And that's a revealed project characteristic that might be overseen otherwise. That's a very common problem. You start a nearshore project or offshore project, and the guys in management invest some money into communication Skype or something like this. We have Skype, we have one room to video room, and so on. Language, okay, all should be able to speak in English, and that's all the thing. And we do daily stand-up using video. We are agile. Forget it. It doesn't work. You have to invest much more in such a constellation. This stereotype, please do not use it in a dramatic way. We are all humans. And as I said, it works. It's a meta model, so actually it doesn't matter if it's Kanban, Scrum. We are talking about more abstract model as this concrete, this frameworks that are released actually only a tool. And that's my suggestion, some kind of an advertisement. Yeah, it's really complex. So if you have questions and so on, please hire an expert. Okay. Many thanks, that's all from my side. Do you have any questions?
You said that there is a big...
So you said there is a big difference between teams, for example, Germany and Japan. And it's possible to get one team in Germany, second team in Japan, and they work on the same project. And if so, what do you do there? So people from Japan would like to have some kind of hierarchy, people from Germany would not like that.
I didn't get the question exactly.
Would you recommend to have two teams working on the same project from different cultures? That are so different.
I will not recommend this. Simply, and if you do this, because we did this project, for example, with the idea to produce software 24/7. That means using time zones. So we had to have teams in Japan, we had to have teams in Germany. But that's the information that was obvious that it was really a big project risk. So if it is possible, I would then really suggest to have teams from one culture. That means, because even if you take two teams from very different organizations, you will get a similar result. Any other question?
In your one of the...
Last slide, you had that graph with the numbers, minus, plus. I personally don't like because it didn't give the idea that German teams are better teams than others. So, yeah, that could say. But my question is, for example, you have Poland and Romania with similar numbers. So can we say that we can match those two teams because they have the same cultural capability, or we cannot do that? Using this graph to compare teams that have the same capability.
This information about Poland and Romania is actually, as I said, about risk and about invest that you have to really, money that you have to have. That means, in my opinion, if you have a full Polish team and a Romanian team, you have to invest similar amount of money to get them really working good. But it doesn't mean that both of them can work together, because that's not the number. Yeah? The number is simply, that's only for one, actually you do it only for one unit. Yeah? But it's not, if you see, okay, here we have minus 200 and here 100, minus 190 like Japan and India, it doesn't mean they can work together, yeah? Because we have other problems. That is only about the invest that you have to be aware of. Okay?
You've used nations to divide things. Have you ever done divisions by religion or even different types of language groups? And have you found that is a good indicator, or is it a simplification?
No, I didn't do this because, as I said, for example, language is only a part, one of the elements of a culture. So you have to think as what I've seen, what I saw, what I showed you. What are the elements of a culture? You have to really understand that you cannot do this. Okay, if they are able to speak the same language, they can do a project together, because the culture differences are much more or can be bigger because of the complexity of the culture. So I would always say just think about culture, agility as a culture, team, organization, nation. That's, I would say, the end point, but not very straight, very directly, like such parameters like language or religion. Okay? Still two? Okay.
Hello. First, I really like your session. And you work in a company that have a couple of branch offices, one in Belgrade, one in Toronto, and one in Denver. So it's obvious cultural difference between three offices. And may I say that this Agile methodology is more convenient and more intrinsic for Western culture.
Yeah,
And also maybe we need some adoption for, let's say, other cultures like Slavic people. It's easier to mention, easier to set fruit in a vase than what is do in Japan, for example, or India. Have you got the thoughts about this?
yeah, very good question. We are talking about. The question was actually, what we have seen. Agility is much more convenient, much more clear for the Western cultures because they have created it. Just simply, we have to take this into consideration. And in my opinion, every nation can be agile, but you have to simply invest more time, means more money, because as I said, if you think about agility as a culture, you have to establish this culture. And very often you can start an agile project and you can see, okay, I need 1, 2, 3 iteration sprints to get first result. In such countries, you have to maybe start 1, 2, 3 projects to be agile, to gather to change a little bit this culture, to establish this agile culture. It's simply a question of time. So, in my opinion, that we should be aware of if you think about project risk and invest. Yeah, okay, you can start agile project, for example, in Poland, and maybe the salaries are lower, but you will need more time to execute this at the beginning, because if you start a completely new agile project. So as a project manager, you have to balance and you have to see these risks. Is it okay? Thank you. And the last person was, because I think you have to.
Yeah. Would you force agile methodology on nations or units that are not capable of doing it? And what do you think is alternative to agile if you assess that it's not possible for them or too expensive to become agile?
That's a very good question. As I said, you cannot do this for the nation. You have to really you have to examine the context. Because in my opinion, the agility, as I said, is not so problematic to understand. So we are all intelligent guys, we are IT guys, we can analyze and so on. And simply, if you think about agility in such countries where you have, for example, these strong hierarchical systems, then you have to really invest a lot of time and money for the coaching and so on. And it might be, that was not the case of my project, but I would say it might be that you have to really look at this return of invest. Does it really mean that if I do it using an agile methodology, is it really good? Am I able to produce software more efficiently? I think you have to always analyze this. But as I said, with the strong hierarchical systems, that's one of the challenges. And what I would propose, what we did in Japan actually, that is to create your own interpretation of agile framework. So not to be dogmatic and just say, okay, we use now Scrum, point. Yeah? We have 15 minutes daily, you have to say, what did you yesterday, do you have any problems, and so on. Because my Japanese guys said to me, my problem is I have no problems. That was the common answer. So we have decided to change this, to change the formula of these questions and so on. Yeah? That's simply an invest. Yeah? You have to analyze the context. Yeah? Simply, and then look at the return of invest. Okay. So, many thanks.